ومن سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة.
طيب عن معاذة رضي الله تعالى عنها ورحمها الله. معاذة قالت, she said, the last hadith is سألت عائشة رضي الله عنها. I asked عائشة, سألت عائشة رضي الله عنها, I asked عائشة رضي الله عنها فقلت, I said, ما بال الحائض تقضي الصوم ولا تقضي الصلاة. How come the woman on her period, she makes up the fasting but she doesn't make up the salah? She has to make up her fast but she doesn't make up the salah. فقالت, she said, أحرورية أنت? Are you a حرورية? حرورية يعني from the Khawaarij. Are you from the Khawaarij? The Khawaarij who were the ones who rebelled against Ali ibn Abi Talib. They rebelled against the Muslim ruler. So, and they killed the Sahaba and they fought against the Sahaba unjustly. Obviously, fighting against Sahaba is always unjustly. And so they fought against the Sahaba. And after they were mixed amongst the Muslims in the army of Ali and the army of Muawiyah. When Ali and Muawiyah radiallahu anhuma made peace, the Khawarij, they couldn't accept the peace. They always love fighting and killing. That's what they love. And so what did they say? They said all of them are kuffar. Ali and Muawiyah are kuffar. And so what did they do? They left and they went to a place called Harura, which was a village in Iraq. And they stayed there. اعتزلوا. They left all of the Muslims. And this is the way of the Khawarij, guys. That they leave the scholars. They leave the people of righteousness. They always say, leave the scholars, this scholar's that, this scholar that. Yani, a young brother who hasn't seen a grey beard in his hair, or a grey hair in his beard, and he says that this scholar who's spent 60, 70 years of his life serving Islam, learning and teaching the religion, he doesn't know anything. I'm the one who knows everything. The way of the Khawarij from old. So Ibn Abbas, I mentioned to you guys already, right? Ibn Abbas, he would go to them and he went to debate them and he said to them, لَقَدْ جِئْتُ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. I've come from the companions of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وَمَا فِيكُم مِّنْهُمْ أَحَدًا. And from amongst you, I don't see any of the companions amongst you. None of them. There's no companions amongst you. These days, guys, so obviously look, the Khawarij, look, the best of creation, the Sahaba, the best of human beings at that time, the best of creation at that time. No one's better than the Sahaba at that time on the earth. The Prophet ﷺ is dead. All of the companions who are alive, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the best of human beings alive on that time. He's in one camp. These guys are in another camp. They say, we follow the Prophet ﷺ better than them. Is that, we, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, the one who, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ali is in Jannah. Uthman is in Jannah. He mentioned these people are in Jannah. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas is in Jannah. Whilst they're on the earth, he mentioned they're in Jannah. And the Prophet ﷺ said about Ali, you're like me, like Harun was to Musa, except there's no prophet after me. Yani, you're like Harun to Musa, but there's no prophet after me, to Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Khawarij said, is a kafir. Alright? These days, today, they use different asalib, different ways to cut from us and the scholars. They cut you away from the scholars of Islam. How do they do that? They say these scholars are scholars of politics. They don't know about politics. Or they say these scholars, they just know about tahara, purification and hadith, but politics, that's what we know. That's what they say. That's a trick of shaitan that the Khawarij today they use to cut you away from the people of knowledge. Right? Or they say, and this is common as well, those scholars, they're influenced by the governments, they can't speak. Sometimes they will clearly say, no, those scholars are kuffar. Like they said about Shaykh ibn Baz. Shaykh ibn Baz is a kafir. That's what they'll say about that. But as time goes on, when they realize we can't really say that, if you say that to people, yani right now, if you go to Saudi Arabia and you say Ibn Baz was a non-Muslim, you probably get killed. Honestly, that's how they love Shaykh ibn Baz so much. They love it. So they can't say that now. So what do they say now? Even in Saudi Arabia itself. What do they say? They say, no, Shaykh ibn Baz and Shaykh Salih Fawzan, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, they were close to the king, so they couldn't speak. They were influenced by the king. So like, who knows the truth? We know the truth. We're upon the truth. But Shaykh ibn Baz is good. Why can't they say Shaykh ibn Baz is bad? Because they know that human being naturally, the scholars of Islam like Shaykh ibn Baz, like Imam Ahmad, Al-Shafi'i, if someone speaks about them, what are you going to do? You're stop listening. So they realize that if we speak bad about Al-Albani or Ibn Baz, they're going to stop listening. So let's start off with what? Let's start off with just saying, no, they were just influenced. They were good, but they couldn't do it. We're more courageous than Shaykh ibn Baz. You know, they asked Shaykh ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, one time, a brother asked him, I think it was a brother from the West, and it's recorded, he said that they put this question to Shaykh ibn Baz, did you give this fatwa because you were influenced by the government? Sheikh bin Baz started to cry. And he said, do you think I'm going to speak about the deen of Allah? Give a ruling for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of a government? You think I'm scared of a government to speak for the deen of Allah? I'm going to change what I believe. Says I believe something else other than what I believe because of a government, because of someone else? And he started to cry and cry. But may Allah protect us from ever speaking about the deen of Allah by the influence of anything other than Allah and His Messenger. Anything else. And this is the way of the scholars of Islam. They're not influenced by Allah and His Messenger. Or then they are only influenced by Allah and His Messenger. They're not influenced by a government. They're not influenced by desires. And this is what these people are influenced by. Desires. They want to rebel. They want fighting. So what do? They speak bad about those scholars in that way. They say these scholars they're cut off. They don't know the reality. They don't know the fiqhul waqi'. So they say something that was common in the 90s. They don't know the fiqhul waqi'. They don't know what's really happening on the ground. They're just up there in their castles. That's what these scholars are. But in the ground, we're the one who knows. Who? Young guy. Hasn't even reached his 30s, 40s, maybe his 40s, and he's memorized a lot, maybe. And this is another thing about the Khawaarij. The important characteristic that they have is that they mesmerize people by things that you should not be mesmerized by just in and of itself. The Prophet ﷺ warned us of that, right? يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنِ They recite the Qur'an. لَا يُجَاوِزُ حَنَاجِرَهُم It doesn't go past their throats. تحقرون صلاتكم بصلاتهم You're going to belittle your own salah compared to their salah. They mesmerize you by it. What? Today, they go on YouTube or on a channel, they say this person who's memorized the 10 books of hadith with the chains of narrations. They recite it, they don't understand it. Right? This is the characteristics that's always been present amongst the Khawaarij. They cut you away from the scholars, elderly in knowledge and elderly in age. Knowledge and age. They cut you off from that by saying these statements, ambiguous. And then when you get close to them, obviously that's how they start, by the way. They start like that. You're young, you just start practicing, you're fresh meat. They go and they say, look, Sheikh bin Baz, I know you heard a lot about him, but he didn't really know much. You say, okay, he loves Sheikh bin Baz, but it's true, it wasn't really on the ground, you know? Sheikh Salih Fawzan, he's not really on the ground, he's influenced. They give you that. Then when you get closer and closer and closer, you get to the point where they start making takfir of these mashayikh. Say they're kuffar. All of them are kuffar. They're disbelievers. That's how they get closer. Then they say it can go to higher levels. Obviously, the different levels of them. Some of them they'll stop there. Some of them will get further and further and further until they start bombing and killing. Start bombing innocent people and killing innocent people. Say everyone's a kafir anyway. Why? They give pledge allegiance to the king, and the king's a kafir. This ruler is a kafir, so therefore all of them are kuffar. Some of them, they wouldn't pray Jum'ah. 7 years, didn't pray Jum'ah. Why? Because all of the imams of the masjid are kuffar. All of the imams of the masjid. That's how they start. They cut you away from the scholars. That's what they harura, that's what they done. They i'tazalu nas, they left the people, the Sahaba, the scholars of Islam, they went where? Harura, where the people of knowledge. Ibn Abbas entered upon them and he said, I heard the way, when I entered into their camp, it was like a beehive. You know a beehive, how it sounds from reciting the Quran. That's how it sounded. I entered upon them and their knees were black like camels because they were on the knees on salah all the time. And on their head was black because of sujood. Do you think that's how they are? This is Khawaarij at the time of the Sahaba. So Aisha said to Mu'adha, Aharuriyatun anti? Are you a Haruriya? Are you from the Khawaarij trying to say you have to make up all your salah? A woman on her period, she has to make up all of her salah? As opposed to obviously the ijma'. No difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Apart from the Khawaarij, only the Khawaarij, they believe this, that if you're on your period, you have to make up every single salah that you're on your period for. 5 days, 5 times a day. When you finish your period, you make it up. Mu'adha said, how come the one that's on her period, she makes up the fasting, but she doesn't make up the salah? So Aisha said, are you Haruriya? Are you from the Khawaarij, from these people, the Khawaarij? Because that's what they used to believe. She said, لا, I'm not. ولكن لست بحرورية. I'm not Haruriya. ولكني أسأل, but I'm just asking a question. Why? قالت, she said, كان يصيبنا ذلك. That used to happen to us at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. We used to have a period. فنؤمر بقضاء الصوم. We used to be commanded to make up our fasting. ولا نؤمر بقضاء الصلاة. And we never used to be told to make up our salah. So the woman on her period doesn't make up her salah, but she makes up her fasting.